The medicine bundle is called jish. A bag that contains, first and most important part, is the mountain soil. There is also a rock crystal that is very important to have. Have also a male arrow point and a female arrow point. And then all of the different types of stones, the black jet, mother of pearl, abalone, red coral, and turquoise. Down through the years and generations, our Diné have been influenced by many different groups of people as to the type of clothing worn, the fashions and that our people have gone through. But previous to any other contact with Europeans and that, Diné usually had and wore clothing that they called A. A would mean something that would be a covering for your body. A. And it was generally a lot of skins of some kind that was tanned and processed to be very soft, and generally worn in two pieces, one to cover the lower part of the body, and then the upper part of the body would be covered by skin that would be sort of fashioned like a poncho, but it would be something that you could tie with a few straps underneath from underneath the arms on down along the side. And there wasn't really a lot of sewing involved to making those clothing. But they also had material that they could make on a loom that was made out of fiber and cotton and those sorts of clothing and that was worn. And later on, as our people encountered the Europeans, first were the Spaniards, and the clothing that, the article of clothing that came from the Spaniards mostly influenced the men. They developed a type of trouser, and they were generally kind of like maybe a pair of bell bottoms that had a split up at the ankle along the side. From the outside they'd have a split, and so that was worn with a high top type of moccasin. So that was one of the influences in that the early Europeans gave to the Diné. And then we have the influence that came about when our people were being held prisoners of war at Fort Sumter or Huerte. The influence that they had there probably can be seen with the Navajo women's clothing, which is the wearing of the velveteen, and a lot of stitching designs and that were adopted, and the turquoise or the silver buttons and that put onto the clothing, and also the long skirt, the skirt that would probably be maybe 5 to 6 inches off of the ground when the dress was put on, and they were very long and full skirts. And that came about with watching the military officers' wives and that accompanied their husband to Fort Sumter. And so that was an influence that our people picked up for their clothing. But one thing that has always remained constant with the man is the what we call a Diné. It's actually a small pouch. And this one here was made by a gentleman out on the reservation, but it's a small pouch that has a long strap that you wear around the over the shoulder. And in this pouch, you can have all kinds of material that you can carry in there, because many times our people didn't have the pockets and that on their clothing. And so this was something that could be carried around. It would to carry ammunition or anything else that might be of importance to our people. And that was generally something that was used by the men. Diné is what it is called. And if you translate the word Diné, it is that it's something that is going to be wobbling back and forth at your side. So that's what it's called, Diné, because that's where it's located. Now for the women, they also had a way of carrying some kind of things that they possibly might need. And they used what could be a small bag, probably a little larger than this particular sample here. But you notice it's just a piece of leather of some kind. It could come from any type of animal. And it's got a little string around the top of it to kind of close it and secure what's inside. But I have here just a piece of a towel. And it could be cut into a little square like this piece here, and then whatever item would be placed in the center, and then the top of it, the corners and that, would be held up here, and then a small string or a rope or a strap of some kind would be tied around here. Now this particular bag, when it's referred to as the way the women wore it and used it, was called a tzazis. A tzazis is what they called it, because it was located in the area where they called tzaka. So when they had this bag, sometimes they would just tie it around themselves with a longer strap, and that held all of the things that they might need and carry around. And since they, of course, did not have pockets, they always had some kind of a pouch that they could put various things that they might need or use and that. And so the women had a tzazis, and the men had the nayis. So the fashions of the day we were always progressing in some way. And I'm wearing a pair of suspenders. This is called tza'at, which is to say atza'kahaz, and that's the straps that go over the rib cage, and that's what it's referred to as tza'at. And the other things in that we have as Diné is that we always had some means to carry items in that, whether it be the nayis or tzazis. The medicine bundle is a very important example of how things were carried. Now, a medicine bundle is it is something that when you begin to learn ceremonies at an early age, as early as 8 years old, you begin to learn the songs and the prayers and the procedures for doing a ceremony. And generally you learn this in the sweat lodge, but you also get invited to attend all kinds of ceremonies in that, and you accompany your grandfather or anybody that you're learning from to these ceremonial settings where he's conducting a ceremony, and you sit with him after the side and you watch what he does, and you sing along with the songs and help him wherever he might need some help. But the bundle, the medicine bundle, is called jish. Jish is what we call the medicine bundle. And that there is a bag that contains a lot of different paraphernalia and that is used in conducting ceremonies. And what it might have, and the very first and most important part, is the mountain soil. The mountain soil is the authority that is acquired from the tops of the mountains and that to give authority to do all of the different ceremonies and perform the ceremonies and that. And so you always have that medicine bundle in your medicine bundle as far as all of the things you need. There is also a rock crystal that is very important to have. And you have also a male arrow point and a female arrow point. And then all of the different types of stones, the black jet and the mother of pearl abalone and red coral and turquoise. These are some of the types of stones that you would have in your medicine bundle. Also that depending on the type of ceremony that you can perform or you have learned to perform, they usually have a bundle of feathers and that, and these feathers come from the vulture. Jesho is what we call it, and you use that bundle of feathers in doing one of the ceremonies and that's the ones that there are 8 feathers in a bundle, and you have herbs in that are mixed up into in the traditional Navajo basket, and you dip the feathers into the herbs that are in that basket, and you sprinkle it around the hogan when you're conducting a certain type of ceremony. And kina'adagat is, I think, what they call that particular ceremony. The feathers from the vulture, they're short, but it's something that you can't just have around and laying around and be using it for other things other than what we would use that feather in a ceremonial setting. So it's not a good thing to do. But the other thing is the eagle feather, a tsabatos. Those are also considered very sacred, and they are also used in various times in ceremonial setting as well. There's one ceremony where you have a whistle made out of the bone of an eagle, and you blow that particular whistle in the ceremonial setting and that's something that also was considered sacred, even in today's understanding of where you blow a whistle of some kind, and sometimes I remember the traditional Diné were kind of concerned about just the blowing of any whistle made out of anything plastic or a piece of wood or something else. But those are the things that we come to understand as we observe and participate in ceremonies and that. But there are many things in that our people use to dress themselves and to do the things that they needed to do, and kept some of the very ancient traditions in that. And of course, one of those is Diné, and that was the bag that I showed you that is used mostly by the men, and the women had the sans, and that was something that is probably forgotten. So there are changes going on all the time with the fashions of the Diné. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. But it is that we are, as Diné, we're influenced very often by the things in our environment. And one other thing I might say about the dress of the women, they have what they call bith, which is understood to be the traditional dress of the woven dress that actually is a one piece, and it goes from the neck all the way down below the knees. And nowadays, they generally weave that out of wool, maybe sometimes mohair. It is dyed, and most of the time it is colored black. It includes white and red as well. And the traditional form of that particular dress was woven out of cotton, and it was really a very fine weave at that time. Nowadays, when you wear the wool, the one that's woven from wool is very stiff, and it's not as comfortable, I would believe. I have no idea, but that's my thoughts on it. But the traditional dress, they call it bith, was made out of the cotton and different types of fiber. And some of that fiber might be the awetsan, or with the yeka, and then, of course, sometimes even portions of sinew was used in the making of those particular type of clothing for women in the traditional way. And those are the things that we are told.